Hey everybody, Haydog here. Welcome back to another reaction video. This time, we're doing the Napoleonic Wars retreat from Moscow, 1812. Let's get right into it. Peace lies in Moscow. Napoleon.
Russia, 1812.
I don't think that's
Napoleon
gonna happen.
invades his former ally with the largest army Europe has
You're
ever
screwed.
seen. But for the French Emperor, the decisive blow remains frustratingly beyond reach.
Yup.
Russia's resilience is unlike anything he's ever encountered. And as winter closes in, his army begins the most infamous retreat in history.
It is the retreat. Part 3, the retreat. I said that already.
The 15th of September, 1812. 83 days after invading Russia,
83 days,
a week
geez.
after his costly victory at Borodino, Napoleon entered Moscow. He expected to be greeted by dignitaries, formally offering the city's surrender.
Nah.
Instead, he discovered that 90% of Moscow's inhabitants had fled.
Huh.
A fire had started the previous night and was blamed on drunken soldiers. But over the next 48 hours, fires continued to break out across Moscow, until most of the city was ablaze.
They're burning.
Count Fyodor Rostopchin, the city's governor, had ordered that Moscow be destroyed rather than allowed to fall into enemy hands.
Damn.
And now fires were being started deliberately by Russian criminals, freed from jail and acting on police orders.
Oh, that's awesome.
French soldiers rounded up and shot any they could catch. But the inferno was impossible to contain.
Damn.
In 4 days, 2/3 of Moscow was destroyed.
Damn, that quick.
With the fires finally under control, Napoleon's soldiers turned their attention to systematically looting the ruined city. While from his new quarters in the Kremlin, Napoleon sent a letter to Emperor Alexander in St. Petersburg, inviting him to make peace and end the war.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
He received no reply.
Nope.
Napoleon waited, confident that
Yep, keep
Alexander
waiting,
would
buddy.
eventually negotiate. But as the days passed, he grew increasingly uneasy. Cossack raids were disrupting his vital communications with Paris, as well as the arrival of supplies. While the steady attrition of French forces and Russian reinforcements meant Napoleon was outnumbered for the first time in the campaign.
Wow.
Rumors also reached him that his reluctant allies, Prussia and Austria, were in secret talks with his enemies. Napoleon had proposed that the army winter in Moscow, but that now looked too dangerous.
Yeah.
Reluctantly, he accepted that the army would have to move back to Smolensk to find safe winter quarters.
Should have
Napoleon
done that a
knew
lot
how
earlier.
severe Russian winters could be, but continued to put off his departure, reassured by fine October weather, and hoping that at the last minute there might be a message from Alexander offering peace. It never came.
It never came.
On the 13th of October, the first light snow fell.
Dude, if I was a soldier there and I saw that snow and I was like, we're over 400 miles away, I would be like panicking. I'm like, I'm gonna die. Like, this is it. This is it. Like, I'd be like, I'm gonna either freeze to death or get killed by a Cossack. So there's nothing I can do.
5 days later, Kutuzov launched a surprise attack on Murat's advance guard at Vinkova and defeated it. Napoleon, stung into action, gave the order for the army to leave Moscow the next day.
Yeah, they're gonna trap you. Now, this is the moment my campaign begins. Emperor Alexander of Russia.
100,000 men of the Grande Armée left Moscow in a column 10 miles long, with an estimated 40,000 carriages and carts.
Yeah,
There were women and children too, army wives and the vivandières, the women who cooked for the soldiers, as well as some civilians.
You're not gonna have a good time.
Every pack was stuffed with as much food and loot as possible.
Of course.
As he set off, Sergeant Bourgogne of the Imperial Guard made an inventory of his pack.
Okay.
It contained several pounds of sugar, some rice, some biscuit, half a bottle of liqueur, a woman's Chinese silk dress embroidered in gold and silver, several gold and silver ornaments, amongst them a piece of the cross of Ivan the Great. Besides these, I had my uniform, a woman's large riding cloak, 2 silver pictures in relief,
Holy crap.
4 inches long and 8 high, all in the finest workmanship. Also several lockets and a Russian prince's spittoon set with precious stones. I wore over my shirt a yellow silk waistcoat, which I had made myself out of a woman's skirt. Over that, a large cape lined with ermine and a large pouch hung at my side by a silver cord. This was full of various things, amongst them a crucifix in gold and silver and a little Chinese porcelain vase.
Jesus.
Then there were my firearms, powder flask, and 60 cartridges in the box.
God, how can you even carry that much?
This heavily encumbered army
They must
did
have
not
real
yet
big
realize
backpacks.
It was in a race against time.
Yeah.
The Russians were beginning to move against the flanks of Napoleon's 550-mile-deep salient. That very day, Wittgenstein's army was driving back Marshal Saint-Cyr's outnumbered force at Polotsk and drawing Victor's 9th Corps west to support them. In the south, Admiral Chichagov's advance had Schwarzenberg's Austrian Corps falling back to cover Warsaw. The corridor was closing.
They're closing in.
And then there was the weather. Though Napoleon was confident his army could reach winter quarters in Smolensk in 20 days.
20 days?
Well before the more extreme temperatures were due to hit.
Yeah, no, dude.
Napoleon planned to withdraw via Kaluga, through unspoilt country where the army could forage for supplies. But Kutuzov sent General Dokhturov's 6th Corps to block the road at Maloyaroslavets. In fierce fighting, Italian troops of Eugene's 4th Corps drove the Russians out of the town.
God, that would suck.
It was a hard-won victory, reminiscent of the fighting at Borodino. Kutuzov now stood between Napoleon and Kaluga.
Yeah, Kutuzov
Napoleon now took the unusual step of conferring with his marshals.
Real smart.
And after discussing various options, he decided that rather than seek another major battle, they would retreat the way they'd come, along the Smolensk road. Napoleon had hoped to avoid this route, as it meant marching back through country already stripped bare of supplies.
Yeah, that sucks.
The day after the fighting at Maloyaroslavets, Napoleon was nearly captured by a group of Cossacks, and saved only by General Rapp's charge at the head of his escort. After this close shave, Napoleon had a phial of poison made up, which he carried around his neck in case of capture.
Alright. Those who were too weak to carry their weapons or knapsacks threw them away, and all looked like a crowd of gypsies. Damn.
Napoleon's army set off on its new course, shadowed at a respectful distance by Kutuzov's army to the south.
Yeah, he's coming.
They passed the old battlefield of Borodino, a grisly, unnerving sight, where crows pecked at half-buried corpses.
Gross.
Relentless marching quickly began to tire out men and horses. A few days later, the temperature fell below freezing. The army's overworked, starving horses died en masse. Discipline began to break down, as some drivers simply dumped the sick and wounded by the roadside
Oh my
to try to ensure their
God.
own survival.
Oh, that's crazy.
As the French column became increasingly strung out, General Miller...
It's literally they're throwing dead weight on the street. Ugh.
Radovich, commanding Kutuzov's advance guard, fell on Davout's rear guard outside Vyazma. For a few hours, Davout's first corps was cut off.
Oh no, Davout!
Until Eugène and Ney came to his rescue.
Okay, good.
The battle ended with street fighting in Vyazma, as the French hastily evacuated the burning town.
Again, another burning
For the
town.
soldiers of the Grande Armée, so unaccustomed to retreats and routes, Vyazma was an alarming, demoralizing blow.
Yeah, it's gotta suck. Like, uh-oh, this isn't good. The road was strewn with the dead. Our suffering exceeded imagination.
On the 4th of November, it began to snow heavily.
Oh god, not the snow.
The next night, temperatures plummeted to minus 20 degrees centigrade.
Ooh. I'm getting cold just looking at
Few
this.
men or women had proper winter clothing
Oh god.
or access to shelter.
-4.
Many froze to death overnight.
Ugh. So I've been in weather like this. It really, like, it is cold. Like, it hurts cold. Like, it's not just like, ooh, I'm shivering. Like, it actually hurts my skin. So this... Ah,
The
God.
next morning, wagons and guns were abandoned.
Wow.
Many soldiers sought to save themselves,
Yeah.
ignoring officers, stealing horses and food, and leaving the column to scour the countryside for supplies.
I mean, it makes sense.
Many of these foragers were found by the Cossacks.
Ah.
Some cut down or lanced, others robbed of every possession and left to freeze.
Oh.
In a few cases, they were handed over to peasants, eager for retribution against the foreign invaders who had plundered all they owned.
Yeah.
As the army struggled on towards Smolensk through blizzards, Napoleon ordered Eugène's 4th Corps to strike out for Vitebsk, where there were large French supply depots. But Vitebsk had already fallen to the Russians.
Ah.
4th Corps was too weak to fight its way through, and rejoined the army, minus its artillery and most of its baggage.
Phew.
A colonel who saw
They're
4th
running on
Corps at this
fumes.
stage described men without shoes, almost without clothes, exhausted and famished, sitting on their packs, sleeping on their knees, and only rousing themselves out of this stupor to grill slices of horse meat or melt bits of ice.
God.
Just 3 weeks after leaving Moscow, a third of the army was dead or captured. About half the rest formed a growing army of stragglers, men without units, prepared to fight only to survive.
Yeah, I was just about to say, it's just for survival at this
Napoleon
point.
reached Smolensk on the 9th of November. The first troops into town ransacked the supply depots, leaving nothing for those who followed,
Wow.
including Ney's rearguard, which arrived 6 days later.
Jesus.
Napoleon had hoped to make Smolensk his winter base, but the state of the army and lack of supplies meant the retreat had to continue.
He had to go back.
But the 5 days he spent there gave Kutuzov time to circle ahead and prepare an ambush. When the French retreat resumed, he struck 30 miles
Kutuzov
west of
is
Smolensk
resilient.
at Krasny. In 3 days of desperate fighting through knee-deep snow,
Ugh.
Napoleon used his Imperial Guard to hold open the road.
Oh, there
as
we go.
Eugène and Davout's corps fought their way through the ambush with heavy losses. 2
Oh my God,
regiments
the
of the
art's
Young
so
Guard
good.
were ordered to make a sacrificial counterattack to keep the Russians at bay, and were virtually annihilated.
Ugh.
Kutuzov held back many of his troops and was blamed for not trying to destroy Napoleon's army when he had the chance.
Oh.
It's possible he was concerned at the number of raw conscripts in his own army, also
yeah.
suffering terribly in the freezing conditions.
That makes sense. All the Cossacks in the Russians in the world, and the Russians, damn, in the world, shall not prevent me from rejoining the army. Marshal Ney. Wow.
Not every French corps broke through at Krasny. Marshal Ney and his 6,000-strong rearguard arrived on the 18th of November.
They're like,
to
what's
find the
happening?
road blocked by 60,000 Russian troops.
Oh my
and
god.
no sign of the promised support from Davout's First Corps.
Huh.
Ney's men hurled themselves against the Russian lines with desperate courage, but were mown down.
Sheesh.
Rejecting several invitations to surrender, Ney led the survivors in a daring night crossing of the Dnieper River.
Ugh.
Then across 45 miles of open country under
Holy
constant
shit.
attack from Platov's Cossacks to reach Orsha.
Damn.
By the time Ney rejoined the army, his rearguard
How
was
did he
down to just
survive?
800 fighting men,
Oh my
leaving a
god.
column of several thousand stragglers. The army regarded his escape as a miracle,
Yeah.
and when Napoleon heard of it, he immediately dubbed Marshal Ney the bravest of the brave.
Bravest of the brave. This is beginning to be very serious. Oh no shit, Napoleon. You frickin' idiot.
Napoleon had escaped one trap, but now 3 Russian armies were closing in from different directions.
Yeah,
and outnumbered
how the
him
hell?
nearly 3 to 1. From the east,
Man,
Kutuzov's
Russia's-
main army with 65,000 men.
Oh my god.
From the north, Wittgenstein with 30,000, steadily driving back Marshal Victor's 9th Corps.
Yep.
And from the south, Admiral Chichagov's army of Moldavia with 34,000, having detached General Ostensaken with 30,000 to prevent Schwarzenberg's Austrians and Reynier's Saxon Corps marching to Napoleon's aid.
don't think they
Napoleon was
would
heading
even
for Minsk,
try.
a major French supply base with vast stores of the food, clothing, shoes and ammunition that his army so desperately needed.
Yeah.
But on the 21st of November, disastrous news arrived. Minsk had fallen to Chichagov.
Ah.
He'd then marched on Borisov, driven out the Polish garrison, and captured its bridge over the Berezina River.
Yeah, they're trying to
By rights, the Berezina
Just
ought to have frozen solid by
surround
now, so Napoleon could have crossed anywhere. But a sudden thaw had turned the river into a torrent of ice and freezing water.
Yeah, that doesn't look good. I would not want to be in that. That doesn't
Napoleon
look good.
was at least joined by the hard-fighting Marshal Oudinot and his 2nd Corps, which
Okay.
hadn't suffered as badly as the main column on its retreat from Polotsk. Oudinot launched an immediate counterattack on Borisov and retook the town, but couldn't stop the Russians burning the bridge.
Ah.
With no other bridge for miles in either direction, it seemed Napoleon's exhausted army
screwed.
was finally doomed. But there was one sliver of hope. Polish cavalry
Where?
had found a ford across the river near the village of Studienka.
Damn.
Napoleon issued a flurry of orders.
There it is, boys.
2nd Corps was to fake preparations for a river crossing south of Borisov.
Ah, to distract.
Victor's 9th Corps, arriving from the north, was to form a rear guard east of Studienka to hold the Russians at bay, while engineers worked as quickly as possible to build pontoon bridges across the river
Oh god.
and win Napoleon's army a fighting chance of escape.
That's crazy. Our situation is unparalleled. If Napoleon executes himself today, he must have the devil in him. Damn. Marshal Ney. General
On the
Rapp.
afternoon of the 25th of November, General Eblé's Dutch engineers began building 2 300-foot pontoon
God, I would
bridges
hate to do
across
that.
the Berezina River. They worked day
Oh, hell
and
no.
night, sometimes chest deep in freezing water, and completed both bridges in less than 24 hours.
Holy shit.
Few of the engineers survived the ordeal.
My God, they died.
Chichagov had been totally fooled by the diversion south of Borisov, and was moving his troops south to face it, allowing Napoleon's army to begin crossing its rickety bridges virtually unopposed.
Damn. Yeah, so freaking
Oudinot's
lucky.
Second Corps led the way to secure a bridgehead, followed the next day by the remnants of the main army. Priority was given to formed troops, still able to fight. For the time being, the army's vast crowd of stragglers remained on the far bank.
Just leave the sick. Or not leave them, but
By the
leave
time
them for last.
Chichagov realized his mistake and began moving north, Napoleon had troops in place to defend the crossing.
Yeah.
On the east bank,
Where are they
General
gonna hold?
Partonneux's 12th Division, 4,000 relatively fresh troops from
God.
Victor's 9th Corps,
They're so
formed
behind.
the rear guard. As Platov's Cossacks approached from the east, the vanguard of Kutuzov's main army, Partonneux tried to rejoin 9th Corps. But caught in a swirling blizzard, with visibility down to 50 meters, he marched straight into Wittgenstein's army.
Oh, shoot.
His entire division was killed or captured.
Oh my God.
The
Well,
next morning, Chichagov and Wittgenstein launched coordinated attacks on both sides of the river. There was desperate fighting on the west bank, where Marshal Oudinot was, yet again, seriously wounded, but his Swiss infantry held the line, until General Doumerc's cuirassiers, the army's last heavy cavalry, charged and routed the Russians.
how are even a horse is alive?
At great cost,
Good
Polish
God.
and German troops of Victor's rear guard held off the Russians until dark, then pulled back across the bridges.
Ow.
For 2 nights, officers had been trying to get the vast camp of stragglers to cross the bridges when they weren't being used.
Okay.
But with temperatures reaching -30 centigrade, they'd preferred to stay put, huddled around their fires.
I mean, it makes sense.
At dawn on the 29th, with the army leaving and the Russians approaching,
Oh, God.
thousands of stragglers surged in panic towards the bridges.
Man.
Dozens were crushed underfoot.
Yeah.
Others fell or were pushed into the water, or tried to swim, which was certain death.
That's just death.
When French engineers burned the bridges at 9 a.m.,
Oh, wow.
thousands were cut off and left to the mercy of the advancing Cossacks. Some became prisoners. Others were simply put out of their misery.
Damn. What appalling misery. What a multitude have punished in this retreat. God, I'm so dyslexic.
Since the retreat began 43
Fucking hate
days earlier, the Grande Armée had marched nearly 500 miles,
Oh my
under
God.
constant attack, starved, exhausted, and for the last 23 days, in lethal sub-zero temperatures,
Sub-zero.
without proper clothing or shelter. In that time, the fighting strength of the Grande Armée had been reduced from around 124,000 men to 20,000,
Oh my
with
God.
as many stragglers still following the army.
Jesus.
As the retreat continued to Vilna, the weather turned even worse, the
Ugh.
temperatures falling to -37 degrees centigrade.
What's that Fahrenheit?
The Russian armies at least
Oh,
now held
ow.
back,
Okay, yeah.
leaving the winter,
That's really bad.
Cossacks and Russian peasants to finish off the invaders.
Oh wow, it's just them. Okay.
On the 5th of December, Napoleon left the army,
Oh.
travelling incognito across Europe at breakneck speed,
Huh.
and reaching Paris in just 13 days. Naturally, English satirists capitalized on Napoleon seeming to abandon his defeated army.
Yup.
And many soldiers did regard it as an act of betrayal.
He betrayed us.
But his generals supported his decision to leave.
I mean,
There'd
it
already
makes
been
sense.
one attempted coup against Napoleon in Paris, and there was much work to be done to rebuild the army and reassure France's allies.
Yeah.
On the 9th of December,
Jesus.
51 days after the retreat began, around 20,000 ragged survivors of the Grande Armée
20,000.
began crossing the Niemen River back into friendly Polish territory.
Wow.
According to legend, Marshal Ney was the last man across.
That is my boy, Ney. My boy right there. Second and third corps are no more than a memory. The latter number only 60 men. Damn. That's crazy.
Napoleon's invasion of Russia had proved to be one of the greatest military disasters in history.
Failed so hard.
He had made fatal miscalculations about geography, logistics, and above all, Russia's political and strategic response to his invasion.
Yeah.
These blunders cost his empire around 500,000 men.
Oh my god.
As well as 250,000 horses.
Holy
and
shit.
1,000 cannon.
Oh my god.
Put another way,
95.
of every 12 men who marched into Russia with the Grande Armée, one was killed in action or died of wounds.
Okay.
2 were taken prisoner, one of whom died in captivity. 7 died from disease or the effects of climate.
Jesus.
Just 2 returned alive.
No way. Oh my god. That's crazy.
Contrary to myth, many more soldiers had died in the summer advance.
Oh.
Heat, typhus and dysentery
Oh yeah.
than were lost in the winter retreat.
I would say I don't know why, but I'd rather be in freaking heat, cause dude, that sucks. But like, I guess diseases would. No, well, I don't know. Maybe I don't know if diseases would be worse in the summer or the winter. I don't know. I'm not really a doctor, so I don't really know. Germs. I know germs. A lot of like fevers, they die in the heat. Like cold, the germs thrive on the cold, but I don't know. It's just certain diseases or certain things, but I don't know. I don't know back then though.
Russian military casualties were estimated at 150,000.
Oh wow.
A huge but unknown number of civilian deaths.
Oh.
The Russian campaign was a catastrophe for Napoleon. Not just in lost troops and resources, but in damage to prestige and reputation.
Yeah.
That winter, all his enemies sensed weakness and prepared to join forces against him.
Wow.
But the emperor wasn't going down without a fight. Back in Paris, he admitted to his ministers, "Fortune has dazzled me, gentlemen.
Yeah,
I've let it lead me astray. Instead of following my plan, I went to Moscow. I thought I'd make peace there. I stayed too long. I've made a grave mistake, but I'll have the means to repair it."
See, now, I love how he keeps on... We see this more, like, not more and more, but most of the times whenever he does make a mistake, like in Spain and now in Russia, where he says, "I made a mistake. This was dumb. I don't know what I was thinking." And then, you know, him right now, he's like, "I'll have the means to repair it." Like, what are you gonna do? You can't get those guys back. They're dead. They're gone. Your reputation's basically gone. You could try as much as you can, but it's really impossible.
Thank you to all the patriots.
Wow, yeah, that's crazy. All the artwork here, I'm gonna say, got so much better. Holy shit. And oh my god, it is like that is a lot of people dead. Oh man, even the Russians, they suffered a lot too. But like what was it? Over 300,000 died. 1,000 were captured, and only 95,000 lived, and like retreated. Like, oh my god, like we're just left there. Like, geez, that's all, man. What he started with 650,000, and then he ended off with 95,000. That is, crazy. So interesting. So bloody. Oh man. And miserable. But yeah. Hopefully you guys liked it. Comment and subscribe. See ya.